Hi, this is Kim Parkinson from Podcasting for Spiritual Women. And I first jumped into Adam's World back in just January of this year after reading an email about the podcast growth certification. I was all in. We kicked it off in April and I devoured every bit of the course. By May, I was certified and already using what I had learned on coaching calls and landing clients with his methods. But I wasn't leaving Adam's World just yet. Next came the 21-day newsletter bootcamp, and I immediately started implementing his strategies. I've had people reach out just from switching to Adam's newsletter template. But I wasn't done with him yet, and I joined the Online Business Academy for Podcasters, and I've been cruising through the content. The knowledge is gold, and the strategies are simple yet powerful. Having Adam in my world has been a total game changer, and I'm no longer just a podcast producer, but I'm a coach, a guide, and I've got Adam in my back pocket for the journey ahead. If you haven't joined one of Adam's programs yet, what are you waiting for?
What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. It's the show where I teach podcasters simple strategies to help you grow your audience and turn your podcast content into new clients. Today, we're talking about how to optimize each and every one of your podcast guesting opportunities. We all know a great way to grow our audience is to be a guest on other people's podcasts. But it's not just a one-step strategy. It's not just get on shows and then we get a whole bunch of new followers. I'm going to give you a layered strategy of what to think about ahead of time and what to do during the episode to maximize your opportunity to scoop up new audience members for your show. This is going to be a good one. Now, if you need a little help with your audience growth and your monetization strategy, turning that content into new clients, make sure you check out the link to my podcast Profit Potential Discovery Call in the show notes or on the website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. And we can explore opportunities for us to work together and see if I can help you fast forward this process. So let's talk about this optimized podcast guesting strategy. The first thing is the pre-interview prep. I've got two things that I want you to do. So you get booked on a show. And just as kind of an aside here, hopefully you're getting booked on shows that are in your content niche. All right. At first, like just getting on shows, maybe it's not a great fit or whatever, just to get practice, that's okay. 100%, I'm on board with that. But now if you're 50 to 100 episodes in, you're a couple years in with your show, you really need to focus on being a guest on what I call either niche up or niche down types of shows. So for me, with Podcasting Business School, what I like to do is be a sub niche of a larger niche show. So I will go on a business podcast and talk about how we can use our podcast to grow our business. I'm that sub niche expert, or even a podcast about podcasting, and I'll be that sub niche expert on let's talk about how to use our show to get clients. So look for those opportunities and let's get on those shows. Now, pre-interview prep, you just got booked on an ideal fit show. Okay, what do we do, Adam? First thing is I want you to think about potential topics of discussion. Listen, obviously you should do your research, listen to some other episodes, and really kind of try to think about, okay, this is where I think this conversation could potentially go. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes of discussion. Then what I want you to do is think about your podcast episodes and which ones cover these lanes of potential discussion topics. Because one of our goals during the interview is to name drop at least one specific episode of your show. And before you start throwing up red flags, I've been a guest on hundreds of shows and I've done this on hundreds of shows and nobody has ever had a problem with it. Because at the end, they always go, hey, let us know where they can find you. And we're just saying, here's a very specific episode of my show that I want you to start with. And this is a huge part of this strategy. So all I want you to do is, again, step 1, pre-interview prep, think about potential discussion topics. And then step 2 is let's marry those potential topics with a list of between 1 and 5 of the episodes of your show that you would really like their listeners to jump over and start binge listening to your show with. All right. And what I do is I just have my list up on the screen, ready to go. uh, as I'm doing that interview, as I'm being a guest on someone else's show, I have my notes of potential episodes that I can just do a quick name drop. Now, if you're not numbering your episodes, this will not work. This is why I number every single one of my episodes, where you can't go on the fly. Somebody's interviewing you, and let's say somebody's interviewing me, and I talk a lot about SEO, and I want to reference the episode where I talk about podcast SEO. I can't go, hey, go find the one about podcast SEO. Good luck. I've got 600 plus episodes. All right. But if I go to episode 608, that's where I want you to start. They can be on episode 608 with like 3 clicks and a thumb flick, and we're good. Like 4 seconds and they're listening to that episode, or they've at least downloaded it. So for those of you that have not started numbering your episodes, this is why we do it. Okay. So that's the pre-interview prep. I've got the episodes, and I'll have the links, because a lot of times the host will go, hey, can you give me the link to that episode that you mentioned? And boom, here you go. Easy. Let's just put it in the whatever communication channel you've got with what platform they're recording on, StreamYard or Riverside or whatever. You just put that in the little chat box. Bam, you got it. Good to go. They don't forget to link to it. All right. So that's pre-interview prep. That's really important. That sets up our entire strategy. Now, during the interview, I've got 5 things that I want you to focus on. And I guarantee at least 4 of these you've never thought of. All right. Unless you're in my group coaching program, because we talk about this all the time. The notes from today are from one of my group coaching. We do group coaching sessions every other week where I teach something. This is one of the sessions that we did recently. So the first thing I want you to focus on is you using client stories and name dropping your services. Now, you're not doing a pitch on someone's podcast. All right. It looks like this. They ask you a question or a topic comes up and you go, I was just talking about this with one of my clients inside my blah, blah, blah program. So somebody could be talking about really struggling. Most podcasters really struggle to grow their show. What advice do you have for a new podcaster? I could reply and say, I was just talking about this with one of my new members inside my podcasting business school group coaching program. We talk about this all the time. Boom. That's it. I just used a client story and I name dropped the service. And I could say like, okay, this person came to me because they were getting less than 40 downloads per episode. And here's a strategy that really worked for them. So I'm telling a client story, and I mentioned one of my services, my podcasting business school group coaching program. And now we're creating that awareness. And it wasn't salesy. It wasn't pitch. I didn't say, and see the link here, or I didn't throw my website out there, anything like that. So I was just talking about this with one of my brand new group coaching clients inside of my podcasting business school group coaching program. Here's what they're struggling with. Here's what we did. Here's the result, blah, blah, blah. Tell the story. All right. Now, some of you would be hesitant to do this, but again, I've never been called out, flagged, or anything. These are just real life examples. All right. That's the first thing I'm going to try to accomplish when I'm a guest on someone's show. I'm going to tell a client story and I'm going to name drop the program that they are in. Okay. Second thing we're going to try to accomplish: create problem-solving awareness. Saying something like, oh, this is a problem that I love helping my clients solve. So I'll get asked questions about how to monetize a show. What if we can't get sponsors? What other ways can we monetize a podcast, Adam? Oh, this is a problem that I love helping my clients solve. Here's what we address when it comes to podcast monetization. Here's how we address this problem. And I teach about how I call it out and I say, I help clients do this. I help my clients solve this problem. And here's how I do it. Here's one of the first things we always do when we're working together. So again, I'm telling stories about clients, but I'm creating that problem solving awareness, just kind of repeating the question, almost going, oh, this is a problem that I love helping my clients solve. We're doing this all the time. And again, this could be tied into the first strategy where we talk about, inside my group coaching program, I'm always working with people with this problem. I love helping people solve this problem, because it makes such a dramatic difference. When you can go from I'm trying to make money to actually making money, it keeps people going. It gives them hope. All right. So that's the second thing. We're going to create problem solving awareness within the interview. Number 3, we're going to refer to uniquely named frameworks that you have created. If you don't do this, you need to start doing this. So A lot of you have heard me talk about the strategy where I say, hey, 2/3 of your episodes should be solo or coaching episodes. 1/3 can be interviews. And that's a strategy, but the name of it is my 2/3 content rule. Most of you have heard me say that framework, that 2/3 content rule. When I talk to a lot of you in real life, you mention this by the name. You say, oh, the 2/3 content rule. Like that's just a known framework within my content. So we want to use these named and known frameworks because it makes us more memorable as a guest and it levels up our expert positioning. When you have a created framework, it levels you up as an expert on someone else's show. So people ask me again, I go on shows and they know that I don't do very many interviews. And they'll be like, what's the deal with only doing 5 interviews a year? Like why? Most people think that podcasting is interviews. What's the deal with that? Well, this is why my 2/3 content rule is so effective because we're doing only 1/3 of our content is interviews, blah, 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 blah. I just explain it I name drop that. My perfect podcasting naming formula, my optimized podcast art protocol. You guys have frameworks and you have systems. Just go in and name them. All right. And start repeating those in your content and when you're on other people's show creating content, and it levels up your expert positioning. And again, it makes you more memorable. People will remember the 2/3 content rule. All right. Next thing. So that's 3 benchmarks that we want to try to achieve during a guest interview. All right. Number 4, this is the most important one. If you don't do anything else, do this. This is the easiest one, and it is the most powerful, the most important of these steps I'm going to give you here today. I mentioned it earlier. We're going to give them a specific episode of your show to listen as the next step. What we will not do at the end, if you haven't done it by the end of the episode, they're always like, hey, take a second and shout out, where can people connect with you? Here's what we don't do. Just go to Podcasting Business School, listen to it wherever you enjoy podcast audio. We're not going to do that. Not anymore, because that is inefficient. All right. Would it be great to have them go to my show? Sure. But this is better. Here's what we're going to say. Based off of our topic of discussion today, I really think that a great next step for your audience would be to listen to this specific episode. Go to your favorite podcast player app and download right now episode number 608, where I talk about blah, blah, blah. Okay. I not only get so many new listeners from this exact step, I get a lot of clients. I can name several $1,000s worth of new clients that have told me they heard me on Abigail Pugh's podcast last year, and I told them a specific episode to go to. They went to that specific episode. I know what the call to action is on all these episodes as well. So I know like, okay, this all ties together because I remember talking about a discovery call as a call to action on that episode. I'm really strategic with this. So the content marries. It's a great call to action. I don't want to use one of these episodes if it's promoting something that's not evergreen. If it was like a sale that I had randomly, I'm not going to use that as one of these target episodes when I guest on someone else's show. I want something that promotes an evergreen program or discovery call. That's about it. All right. So I know episode 608 is really great for SEO. I've got that one memorized, but I also have my list there. So during the episode, maybe that opportunity will come up, but at the end, it always comes up. And I'll give them 1 to 2 episodes based off what we talked about. If we talk about one thing, it's mainly podcast growth stuff, I will just hammer that one episode. Now, another way to do this is that, during the interview, you kind of like, if I dive deep on podcast growth, we're going to talk a lot about SEO and podcast growth strategy. And then I feel them start to pivot. I will pump the brakes. I'm like, hey, that's a great question. But just before we change topics, is it okay if I give your audience a quick reference point to an episode that might be helpful for them on my show? They always say yes, and I'll name drop the episode right there. And then I'll pivot the conversation. Because if it's just like a perfect setup and you're using all the strategies from above and you really feel like you've got the audience interest peaked, we got to hit them with that episode. And I'll tell them like, hey, real quick, pause, listen to what I'm about to say here. I'm going to give you an episode to check out. That's a great next step. Then I want you to pause, go to my show, download it so you don't forget. And That's exactly what I do. And it really, really works. Then at the end, when they let you share whatever, you could just reemphasize that same episode or go, hey, I got one more episode based off the second half of our conversation. We talked a little bit more about money. Check out this specific episode. So now you got 2 episodes as homework. I'll make a little joke about being the teacher that gives homework on the first day, whatever. And so now we've got a couple of anchor points that are very specific. I'm telling you, this works so much better than go search through my 600 episodes and find one that suits your needs. Give them a specific next step. Nobody does this. That's why it works so effectively. Okay. Now, the last thing, you guys aren't doing this either. And this is all about creating goodwill with the host. All right. So at some point during the interview, I always try to create some goodwill with the host and just kind of give them their flowers a little bit, clap for them a little bit. And it usually happens at the end. And here's what I do. And if you guys hear me on other people's shows, or if I come on your show, I will do this. I feel people kind of wrapping things up and I will interrupt them at the end. And it's kind of it's a pattern disrupt. So usually the process is like, hey, Adam, go ahead and shout out your whatever. And then I'll do the specific episode reference. Then we'll kick it back to them. They'll be like, oh, well, thanks for coming on today. And and I will interrupt them. I'll go, hey, Joe, just for a second, can I shout you out? Everybody that's listening to this episode, here's the deal. I would love to have you leave a 5-star rating and review for this show if you haven't already. That's like putting a tip in the tip jar for podcasters. Joe's doing such a great job. You don't realize how much work they're putting into this show. It'll really mean a lot. And then I'll usually drop a joke like, and make sure that you mention in your review that this episode was your favorite because that feeds my ego. Sorry, Joe. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead. And they always appreciate that. All right. So just creating a little bit of goodwill. And sometimes I'll do this at the beginning as well. When people, I take it seriously and it's a serious compliment. Somebody invites me to be on their platform and share their platform. That's a big deal. So I'll acknowledge that at the beginning as well. I will thank people. I will let them know that I'm a fan. I'll tell their audience, I'm like, hey, and let me just tell you all, you're in the right place because Joe really knows what they're talking about here. And I'm a fan of this show. It's an honor to be on here. So things like that really make a difference because you're trying to build rapport with that host and their audience. And just being a nice person goes a long way. And it's not just like, hey, I'm the star of the show here. It's all about me, y'all. Let me show off a bit. Like we're going to show off with all the strategies and things that we talked about earlier, but being humble and showing, some gratitude to the host really comes off nicely. All right. Especially if you can do it at the end as you kind of exit the show. So those are the strategies, y'all. We have 2 pre-interview prep strategies. We're going to prep for the potential topics of discussion. We're going to have between 1 and 5 episodes, specific episodes ready to share. We're going to have that list pulled up, ready to go with links in case the host asks for them. Then we're going to use client stories and name drop services. We're going to create problem solving awareness. We're going to refer to uniquely named frameworks that we have created. We are going to give them at least 1 specific episode of our show to listen to as a next step. And then we're going to create some goodwill with the host at the end. Now, these are strategies that I love helping my clients create. Like I said, this is from one of our group coaching program sessions that we did. Like, I just love helping you all. I love the aha moments. I love seeing those light bulbs pop right over your head. Like, oh, I never thought of that before, and give you specific strategies to implement. So if you guys can use a little help with things like this, make sure you do check out my podcast profit potential discovery call link in the show notes and on the website podcastingbusiness.school. We can help you fast forward through the process. So Pod Pals, that is it. Get out there, get booked on a few shows, use these strategies. You will see more people come over and become listeners and hopefully become clients of you and your business. And with that, I'm going to send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. I will see you on the next episode.
This is Lindsay Diven from the AEC Marketing Strategies podcast. My favorite episode of Podcasting Business School is episode 293, because in this episode, Adam shares a few simple SEO tips that I've implemented for my show and have received more downloads.